What are you talking about?
All your questions will be answered.
Welcome to the world of
Cinéma.
That's our take.
Welcome to That's Our Take, where we, the Jacksons, discuss many of the over 12,000 movies we have seen with a focus on classic cinema.
Welcome back. Sorry for our brief hiatus, but we hope you're as excited to join us as we are to get this podcast going again. This episode, we thought we would focus on...
Onscreen Couples.
Yes, on-screen couples. February is the month of love, so this month we are devoting everything to love, starting with on-screen couples. Not necessarily couples who are romantic partners off the screen, but just romantic interests on the screen. So when I originally hear this, the first romantic couple I think of is Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. And the most popular one that I think of is 2 Weeks Notice. Not 2 Weeks Notice. What the hell's wrong with me? The most popular one I think of is You've Got Mail. And so I really like You've Got Mail. So a little bit of a tidbit information here for you. This is a remake of another remake. I believe the first one was Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy Stewart and what's her name?
Margaret Sullivan, I think.
Yes, Margaret Sullivan. And then after that, it was made into The Good Old Summertime, I think's the name, with Van Johnson. It's a musical, and I don't know who else is in it. Oh, Judy Garland. I'm not a fan. Compared to these other two, I feel that both versions are very good and stand alone on their own, and one doesn't necessarily upstage the other. But what I like about You've Got Mail is the chemistry and this idea of this line between love and distrust and dislike for someone. Because I feel Tom Hanks's character switches gears pretty quickly when he finds out that this woman who he's been giving a hard time to is now the woman he has been talking to. And he realizes that he needs to maybe change how he interacts with her. And maybe he changes how he interacts with other people because in honesty, you never know what they're going through, type of a thing. But she doesn't change so much because, well, she has no clue what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, that's kind of one of the things that I like about both of those movies. Both You've Got Mail and The Shop Around the Corner is that um, I think his overall perspective just changes, which is kind of the message I think from these movies of just kind of like, well, when you see another side to somebody, you treat them differently, and um, and that's all it takes, you know. And I feel they keep that consistent with having the male lead being the one who does that first.
And what I also really like about it is, I mean, some people could say it's mean. He doesn't come clean right off the bat, but he's invested in the relationship he's built up with her, and he wants to keep that writing relationship that he's built up. And so I think he realizes he needs to repair the in-person damage he's created. And so the advice he gives her to like go to the mattress and to fight against this bad guy, and he knows all along it's him that she's fighting, and he's trying to help her fight him. And I just, that's really putting her forward, her first. And there's just so many, for me, there's just so many quotable parts in that movie, and I think about it often. And there's just so many like cute little lines like, "Oh, I wish I knew where you were. It's autumn, and I'd send you a bouquet of sharpened pencils." And I was just like, that's adorable. Um, But when they end up together at the end, I think that's just the oh, spoiler alert. We're talking about couples, so they probably end up together. But when they end up together, it's just such a happy end to what was a difficult journey for her as she trudged through her challenges in life.
So I'm curious, because they were paired together 3 times, right?
Yes.
Joe versus the Volcano, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail. And You've Got Mail, I would argue, is the most romantic comedy of the three. Um, there's definitely romance in Sleepless in Seattle, and there's definitely comedy in Joe versus Volcano, but I think You've Got Mail is the right blend. Um, why do you think they kept getting paired together?
I think part of it for see Joe versus Volcano is hard for me. I can't really remember that one. Um, and so for me, it's like whatever. So it's really just the two standalone for me. Um, but with that being said, Sleepless in Seattle was a huge hit, and I don't think they thought it would be that big of a hit. But it hits a lot of good things, and it's very akin to Love Affair. This kind of crisscross lovers type of a thing. Um, you can disagree with me there, but um, there's this idea. Um, he says very poignantly in um the start of the movie that I'm gonna get choked up. He already had the love of his life, and so it was like coming home. And so then when he meets Meg Ryan's character, it's like he finds a new home. Your turn.
There's definitely a chemistry there between the two of them. I agree with you. I don't necessarily think that they were cast together in Sleepless in Seattle because they work so well together in Joe versus the Volcano. I think it was just, let's just have them both in this movie. But it's interesting they have chemistry in that movie when they really don't have any interaction with each other in that movie, right? And then You've Got Mail was sort of like, well, let's see what happens if they have an interaction. And guess what? Still chemistry there. They still they play off each other just really, really well.
Yeah, so what I was getting at before I got all weepy is the idea that their chemistry is good enough that it's believable at the end. At no point do I think, well, they're not going to make it. They sold me on this belief. And I like what you said that, you know, now you get to kind of see the chemistry of them actually interacting. If I had to say one person's stronger than the other or kind of led that more, would you say there was one character? Do you think they both do you think there's one actor who kind of helped with that more than the other? Or do you think they both kind of shared that ability to carry the chemistry?
So I think this. I'm not gonna like diss on Meg Ryan's acting abilities. I think she can act pretty well. I think she kind of gives the same quirky performances in these romantic comedies that she does in every one of them. She is in French Kiss as she is in um, Addicted to Love as she is in You've Got Mail. Maybe Addicted to Love is a little different, but um, Tom Hanks, I feel, has great chemistry with anybody. Um, so I think they both are kind of doing their job. I think she's playing her part right, and I think he's playing his part right. I think she is doing the lovable, cute, like I said, quirky kind of person, and he's doing the I want to be with this person. So I think that they are each pulling their weight in different ways.
For sure, I can see what you're saying. But when it comes to the romantic comedy aspect, I feel he totally holds more weight because I see him as the more comedic person and I see her as the more um dry. This is how it is. I see her as the straight man. I mean, even in okay, Greg Kinnear, great boyfriend in that movie. He's hilarious to me. Anyway, but even he's a straight man to her straight man, right? And so, um, the comedic performance seems to land on other side for me with him, and so I think he really carries that, and I think that's what helps balance it. But I try to think, if you're gonna recast the movie, would you?
I would recast it with today's audiences. Sure. Yeah, no, probably not. I just are there couples today? Are there on-screen couples? Rom-coms are not. Uh,
Existent.
yeah, they're not as popular, and and so trying to find someone who would be in a role like that, it's interesting. Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney, just
No,
just because they worked well on that other one.
Glenn Powell, maybe. I disagree. Tom Hiddleston,
Tom Hiddleston, Loki.
Loki. Yep, I know who I'm talking about.
No, I wanted to know.
Yeah,
Knew who I was talking
I think Tom Hiddleston could pull off something akin to Sleepless in Seattle,
about. Hmm.
and
Oh,
so there's that. Um, um, Glenn Powell, I would put more in the role of a You've Got Mail. Women to be determined. Maybe Rachel McAdams for a You've Got Mail
yeah.
type of remake. I could see them as a couple. I would buy that, and however they change it, I would believe that. So, with that being said, I think You've Got Mail has a pretty good rating on IMDb and Letterboxd. Let me refresh your memory. We use Letterboxd to rate our films and log the ones we've been watching recently. So Jason will make sure to put that information on at the end of the podcast so that you can follow us and we can follow you back. Why'd I sound like Scooby Doo? So it has a 3.5 on Letterbox out of 5. So that's pretty decent actually. And
6.7.
a 6.7 on IMDb, which is out of 10, which I agree. That's kind of low. I think it's a solid 7.5, 8 movie out of 10. If you've never seen it, I would definitely recommend giving it a watch. Um, but let's go ahead and talk about a couple others that you maybe have thought of while we were talking, Jason.
Yeah, one that comes to me, it's kind of almost the ultimate on-screen couple, which is William Powell and Myrna Loy. If you don't know who they are, they were popular for the Nick and Nora characters on the Thin Man characters. And they together made 14, I guess 15 if you want to count this one. That's like I think they just play themselves in the Metro, the MGM story basically. Um, but they were in 14 movies together, and I think like 9 of those were the uh, Thin Man movies. Um, they often were confused to being a real married couple. We've seen quite a few of these movies that they are in, and I don't know, their chemistry is so good. They just, I mean, you have to see it to believe it, but they know their roles already. Who's going to be what?
I believe they would get confused or mistaken as married couples because they come off as an old married couple. Not as a couple that gripes, but a couple that sees the need and fills the need. And so she would support him and knew his next step when maybe he wasn't sure, and she would be there to catch him, and vice versa. And so I feel that they felt like such genuine couple on the screen that you can't fake that. And so I think they had to have had a strong relationship, a really strong friendship, in order to have built that. throughout their films. And obviously, the studio loved it and the people loved it because they kept getting paired together in multiple films. And not just the Nick and Nora films, but that was a bulk of them for them for sure.
You're spot on with that. They anticipate each other in their dialogue and their emotions and it's they're so their roles are so lived in. They know exactly what the other person's going to say or do, and it's done so casually and so effortlessly that it just seems like, well, they have to know each other, right? They have to be in love. And guess what? It's just really great acting. You know what I mean? They're just not that they didn't like they did like each other. They obviously got along, um but yeah, just what great acting that they could make us believe every time.
So, with that being said, is there a specific role of theirs that you feel was the best?
Thin Man is super good, right? The one that I keep thinking of aside from that is Love Crazy. It's when she thinks he's fooling around, she starts to um start the divorce stuff proceedings. And so he pretends to be crazy in order to delay it, to keep it all from happening. And and they're just so good together in that movie. Love Crazy. So yeah, I would say The Thin Man is top notch. It's hard to beat. But if you want something outside of The Thin Man that also shows their chemistry and their great relationship, I would go with Love Crazy. Love Crazy has since we're doing the Letterbox IMDb thing, Love Crazy has on Letterboxd 3.5.
And on IMDb, Love Crazy has a 7.4,
Yeah.
which say is pretty close to appropriate for that film.
So something you said about them reminded me of another popular couple. You said they know each other's next step. So I I I am I am thinking of Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. Sarah Rogers is, I guess, how they are often known as Sarah Rogers. They had made, let me see here, they made 10 movies together. 9 movies at RKO, and then that's what I was thinking of. Uh, yeah, talk about knowing each other's steps. Obviously, they were more than just a romantic couple on screen, but they were a dancing couple on screen. And so that shows a different kind of chemistry. It's not just, can they act well together? Can they form well together? And in the sense of dancing, and you need that. And I think I don't know. I want to ask you. So, do you think they were best together um, as dancers? How do I want to say this? She really didn't do any dancing outside of movies with him. He did a bunch of other dancing movies without her.
I think she was a better actress without him. I think he was a better dancer with her. So, one of my favorite movies, Vivacious Lady, Ginger Rogers is in that. She is not with Fred Astaire. She does like no dancing. She sings a little, but no dancing. Um, and I think she's phenomenal. I think she is just as cute as can be. You love her. You feel very much you want good things for her and her character and with her relationship with Jimmy Stewart in it. Um, I think of some of the other things where um Fred Astaire did his dancing, Daddy Longlegs, things like that. And part of it could be casting, age difference. But for me, you get that. You get things like Funny Face. Is that what it's called? With Audrey Hepburn, right? You get big names in here. And I just don't think he was able to convey the same type of feeling as he did when he was dancing with Ginger Rogers.
That's definitely what I was going for. Thank you. You got it. You got what I was going for. I wanted to know. I think he's really good with other dancers as well. I think he was great with Eleanor Powell and with Rita Hayworth. but I think he was his best with her, with Ginger Rogers, and I think she really brought that out of him. They weren't like some of these other couples. They got along some. They did struggle with each other sometimes. I'm thinking about like Top Hat. I think it was Top Hat where she wanted a certain dress, Ginger Rogers wanted a certain dress, and Fred Astaire could not stand this dress because it just wasn't practical for their dancing, and someone ended up choking on the feathers on the dress. It's on the crew, um, and she always kind of she always got the idea that she had the idea that people thought that he molded her, um, that he had made her who she was. But she was already a star by the time he started making movies. She was already in just so much stuff and making so many movies. Um, so she was already there. And they kind of touch on this in Barclays of Broadway. He plays that character that I think even says those words. I molded you like Svengali, he says. Um, and that's a good movie. I would encourage you guys if you're gonna watch any of them, watch all of them. Watch all of the movies that they made together, but save Barclays of Broadway for last. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Barclays of Broadway. Um, I would save that one for last. It's their last one together, and it's sort of autobiographical. Um, they it's about a couple that had split up and then they re-team up, and it's about their relationship, and it really showcases their acting abilities really well. There's some fun dance numbers in there too. It has I don't know if you remember the one with the shoes dancing. Um, anyway, um, well, so we got a couple older Hollywood couples, and then we got some. I don't consider them older because they're in my time, but Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. Um, who else can you think of or have thought of that are great on-screen couples?
Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. And the movie that comes to my mind, do you know what it is?
Desk set.
It is Desk Set. It's such an odd movie because basically there are these women who you can call and ask information about. They're basically a walking encyclopedia idea, right? So if you have a question about how many atoms make up hydrogen or something like what's the capital in India, they would be called and they'd answer those questions. But Spencer Tracy's character comes along and they're making a computer. And so the women have to start putting the information into the computer, right? And it's a really weird love story. These two people are so kooky. And the fact that they find each other is even funnier. What do you have to say about it?
About that movie specifically. Yeah, it's my favorite of the movies that they've done together. Um, I actually, it's so funny. I don't really understand the draw to them as a couple. Um, I'm not saying they're bad together or anything. I feel like their chemistry is good. It's great in Desk Set. And I think it's pretty good in what's it, Adam's Rib or Woman of the Year. I think it's Woman of the Year. Um, but th- to be honest though, like I said, I don't. Yeah, Woman of the Year. I like that one. Um, I don't see what the draw is. But they were huge. They were just again another couple that people thought were just a couple. They just thought they were together. I'm looking at to see how many movies they actually made together, and looks like they did like nine. Yeah, about nine movies together. Um, so they were a box office draw. Um, I don't. when we're talking about these other people, Myrna Loy and William Powell and Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire, I feel like what we said, they brought the best out of each other. I don't really feel Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy brought the best out of each other.
No, I don't think it's the best. I think it's because they're the weirdest.
You think?
Like, not to be mean, um, Spencer Tracy is not the most handsome man.
Mm.
And in my opinion, Katherine Hepburn is not the most handsome woman. But these characters are also very odd that they usually play. They're not the girl next door. They're not the people you would expect. They're not show people. They're odd job people, right? People that you would expect peculiar things from. And you want to see peculiar people happy too. And so that's what I think makes this movie the most interesting because they're both peculiar. They have weird conversation over their lunch,
Mhm.
but it's adorable and you want them to get together.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's they're not the typical Hollywood on-screen couple. Um, but yeah, I I don't know. You guys tell us, what is it that made them so popular? And maybe it's something I'm missing. Um, but you write to us and let us know. Another couple I thought of uh is interesting because they only made 3 movies together. It's Rock Hudson and Doris Day. She made as many movies with like Gordon McRae, probably more. She made 2 movies with James Garner. But the Rock Hudson Doris Day combo seems to be the one that most everybody remembers.
Sexualized. It's because they're so sexualized.
Oh, you think that's what it is? Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the sensationalism of their movies and the fact that she was like Hollywood's. They promoted her as like this virgin, person, which was always funny because she had kids, and so anyway, um, but they just promoted her as this very good-natured person, and
You can have kids and be a good natured
no, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to say they were trying to portray her as a good-natured person, but they were also trying to literally portray her as like a virginal person, and she herself was always like, I don't know where they thought the kids came from, and um, but and he was already in some kind of so like I think of Magnificent Obsession and All That Heaven Allows, these movies that are heavily romance movies. So he's already kind of in that vague. She was in the more cutesy romances. He was definitely in the more kind of yeah, dramatic, sort of sultry. And then it's like they put them together and they're like, well, let's do the sultry with the comedy and see how that works. And it just, I mean, Pillow Talk is so good. It really is just so good. And the other two, Lover Come Back and Send Me No Flowers. Um, one of those I don't remember very, very much. Of course, I'm getting them confused. I think Lover Come Back's the one where he's the hypochondriac. Um, where he's he just feels he's like sick all the time, and that's the moose scene in it. Um, I'm pretty sure that's Lover Come Back. Anyway, uh, and then of course they had the third, which was Tony Randall, who helped with all that too. But yeah, uh, there was sort of an attempt at recreating that style of comedy and those styles with what's it called, Down with Love. Um, do you think? I mean, those movies are a product of their time, right? Those actors were so good and definitely a product of their time as well, or stars of their time. Do you think that there is a way to sort of capture that today? Do you think there are couples that can capture what they had? All these couples we're talking about in general, really, are there? are there couples that we see or actors that we see that team up together repeatedly that we're like, ooh, they're the next, on-screen couple. Like I mentioned that Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence were like in 5 movies together, but I would never say they're an on-screen couple. You know, I don't know. What do you think? Is there even a chance for something like that now?
Yes, maybe. So I think of Mr. and Mrs. Smith with
Oh, Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and they look like an on-screen couple to me, and they were. And so maybe that doesn't count. Do I think it's as common? No, partly because I feel we're so saturated with information nowadays. I feel like the tabloids and the press really used to play up movie stars. Let's look at, like, okay, just this is fake, but case in point, Singing in the Rain and like Don Lockwood, Nina Lamont, here they come. Oh, is it true there you guys are a thing? And he just, they just curtail the situation. They step around it. No one knows. No one knows about his private life. No one knows who he is or isn't dating. No one knows who she is or isn't dating. But nowadays, people follow everyone. They know where they go. They know what type of food they like to eat. They know what they would like to shop. They know what type of guys are interested in. We know so much about these people. So the idea that y- you could see someone on screen and go, oh, they're just an amazing couple, I don't think happens as much.
So you're saying that um the access to personal lives really has changed on-screen couples. That's what you're saying. I agree with you. There was something as you're saying this reminded me what you said reminded me of this movie. I want to say see what the movie is called first because I can't remember. But with it just came out recently. The movie is called It Ends With Us and has yeah, what's her name? Blake Lively and the other guy that's in it. I don't know who the guy is. Anyway, there was the big thing, right? There was the big thing that he had done something offensive, like physically offensive or something to her, some sort of harassment of some kind. And it became a big deal. She didn't want to be around him or anything anymore. Anyway, all that stuff preceded the release of the movie. So here we are watching a movie about these people who are supposed to fall for each other. And we all know this stuff that's actually happened behind the scenes. So that chemistry is gone. It's just not there, right? Um, we we are now so focused on the story behind it all. And so just like you're saying, I think we probably know the personal lives too well to allow for there to be a great on-screen coupling, um, unless they're an actual couple, right? So we see John Krasinski and Emily Blunt together in a movie. We're like, oh, that's really cute, and they're so cute together. I don't know. It's hard for me now to see them with any other person. So because I like them so much together, and I know they're really together. So when I see them with any other person, I'm like, that's fake. That's not. I can't really. Um, so yeah, I think you're right. I think the 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 access to the personal knowledge of these actors has really changed the whole on-screen couplehood.
So maybe that's why there's been kind of a death of the rom-com. We know too much about the people and we find it hard to believe a rom-com type of situation. But I still say there are plenty of good ones. Serendipity, 2 weeks notice, music and lyrics. Um, there are a lot. The Proposal, a lot of really good ones. But maybe that's what makes Hallmark movies so accessible to people. We don't know as much about those stars, but It's all about what the people want in those movies, and what they want is a love story and the people to get together and to be happy. And they give that to them. So I don't know. Bring back the rom com. I miss it.
Yeah, you're totally right about the Hallmark movies because Hallmark does a really good job with they do what Hollywood used to do with their stars, right? They puff them up. They get the, we all know Ashley Williams, we know Lacey Chabert, we know their personas on screen, and they sort of make us believe that's who they are off screen too. And because of that, there's this enjoyment of these Hallmark movies of like, oh, how cute! This is so fun. This is what a great romance this is. Um, Not saying Hallmark movies are perfect or anything, but at least they are carrying on that romantic notion in a film, that there's still chemistry between actors. And the ones you mentioned are really great movies, but it's been some time since they all came out, like 10, 15 years. And so I wonder, like, when the last really good romantic comedy came out where we're like, oh, they had great chemistry together.
Anyone But You, probably the most recent rom com there is. And that came out in 2023. And that to theaters. And just so you have an idea, it only has a 2.8 on Letterboxd. It's been 3 years since that movie came out, and the only other movies that I can find that are rom-coms are Hallmark movies.
And I wonder if there's a sort of a stigma over them too. Um, if that's also a reason why they're kind of going the way um, they're going, because the, the common complaint I hear from people is that, well, they're predictable. I know what's going to happen. But isn't every genre predictable? Like, don't you kind of already know what's going to happen when you watch a noir? Things aren't going to end well.
But I mean, that's the point, is it's not the predictability, it's how it gets there. How well do they do that, right? So, example, Serendipity. You know that they have to get together because of how the movie's set up from the beginning, right? And spoiler alert, they get together. But how it comes to be, what happens, everything in between, that's what you don't know. How? And so it's the unfolding of the story. Can someone write a good story that unfolds well? That's the thing. There's 100 million action movies out there. Guess what? Some of them are great, some of them are crap. But it's the writing in between that makes the movie either good or not. And so sometimes acting plays a role into it. Sometimes you'll see that and you'll say if we had different actors, it would have been a different story. But most of the time, it's the in between. It doesn't matter who acts it, it's the in between. If you don't have a good writing and a good flow, your movie's just going to be dead in the water. And maybe Hollywood got stumped on how to continue to write, or even maybe keep up with some place like Hallmark, which is pumping out just rom-coms because they know and they have it. But Netflix is doing a pretty good job trying to keep up with some of those things now too. Um, as much as I am not necessarily in love with the idea of things going to streaming, um, at least there's something, because I'd rather have my rom-com than on streaming than not have it at all. Um, but there's that way offshoot of what nothing we're talking about.
No, I don't think it's too far off because we were talking about Hollywood couples, on-screen couples, I mean, and their chemistry and the things that worked out, and we're talking about their movies, and it's just not something that's existing right now, and it's a shame, because people have become so critical of this genre, the romantic comedy, um, that uh, it's become a joke, and it's unfortunate because some of the best movies out there are romantic comedies. I think about it. It happened in one night. What a fantastic movie! Best Picture winner, right? Great movie, and it's just it's not a movie that's gonna happen right now. I agree with you that at least someone is putting them out, and and it's not ideal, but it's happening at least. There's something to watch that satisfies that need. Um, and I don't know, Hollywood. I know you're listening to us. Make more rom-coms. And I don't know. So like movies in the past, like some directors got pigeonholed in genres, but not very many. Most of them did a wide range of films. Even Hitchcock, he did a few comedies. He did his own kind of screwball comedy with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Robert Wise, he was such a chameleon. He did all these different things. Every director had dipped their toe in something. I would like to see modern directors try to do, and filmmakers and writers try to step out of their zone, you know? And wouldn't it be great if Christopher Nolan made a good movie? I mean, if Christopher Nolan did a rom-com, wouldn't that be great? If he stepped out and he's like, what I want to try? I want to try making the coolest journey of a rom-com ever. That would be so cool. Because like you said, cinema isn't always so much about the destination. It is about the journey. It's about how they get to that point. And because it's almost instructions for life. Okay, like we know this is going to happen. How do we get there? How's it going to happen? And cinema shows us that. And I feel like, man, it would just be so cool if if we see nowadays filmmakers step out and not have to always do the same kind of movie all the time. If they could branch out and maybe try comedy, which I feel is the hardest genre to do, and then mixing in the right amount of romance, it's a difficult job. And to be honest, maybe that is why it's a failing thing. Maybe because, like you said, it just got too hard for everybody to make. Maybe they just gave up because, like, well, we can't make any good ones anymore. Maybe there aren't, maybe they haven't had faith in the actors to carry such a great story anymore, or a great romance. Maybe they don't have faith in actors that are strong enough to do that. I don't know. Um, anyway, that's my tirade on romantic comedies and their need to come back.
So if you agree with us, let's go to Congress. No, just kidding. With that being said, reach out to us through our social media and let us know what your favorite on-screen coupling is. And if you think there's a modern on-screen couple that maybe we missed. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this podcast and we look forward to going on this journey with you again.
And as always, this is Lara and Jason Jackson, and that's our take.